The At Your Insta podcast is brought to you by ComicTown. Check them out at www.comictown.net or search for ComicTown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your Insta. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Hey!
And Mike.
Waka waka!
Apparently also Fozzie Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
I can see it.
Well, we have another fun-filled episode for you guys this week. We, of course, just had the Pro Tour, which was, very exciting / kind of disappointing, depending on, which side of the argument you're on. But we also got some pretty sweet community stuff to talk about, so we'll hop into that first, and then move into the Pro Tour and everything that happened, and then just kind of move into the wrap-up and talk about what's happening this weekend. But first, let's talk about what's going on in the community. So we did get some exciting news this weekend about Shadows over Innistrad. They let a couple of tidbits about the set officially, which are that Madness is coming back, which is honestly a pretty great fit for the theme and flavor of Innistrad.
Yeah, we talked Madness even for Kozilek, so it's kind of nice to see it sort of come back real soon.
Yeah. And it's not something that I have had personal experience with playing in a competitive format, so I'm pretty excited to have that experience. I know that there have been some very powerful things that have come out of Madness.
My only experience with Madness was a deck that made every draft common the best deck in the format. So,
I hear they have that modern now anyway, so who cares? And then we also know that werewolves are actually going to be coming back as well. So maybe the Curse Mute didn't go over so well with some people.
So I'm going to go ahead and guarantee I guess we're going to finally get that legendary werewolf that
you would hope
that Morrow has talked about for 3 years now. Like, we missed out on it, not this time.
So hopefully people get their wish and get a sweet legendary werewolf that'll again, like, they still have the same hurdles of making that work. Like, so you're going to be able to have one flipped over version of it and then play the other version of it.
I mean, it's not that much more awkward than having a Jace on the battlefield and a flip Jace on the battlefield at the same time.
I guess that's true. They're just kind of like, well, no one cares, so we'll just do it anyway. But yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to see. There were some other unofficial things that were kind of leaked out that we aren't going to talk about in depth. So if you want to find them, they're out there. But we did want to talk about at least some of the flavor text that is on the cards that were leaked, referencing, I guess this might be a spoiler, so potential spoiler, we really don't know, but hey, just so you know, we're going to talk about the flavor text on one of the cards that was leaked, so if you don't want to listen to it, skip ahead, and I'll put it where you can skip ahead to in the notes. That you have been warned. Alright, so one of the flavor texts has, like, Nahiri on it.
And the art also.
Correct. The art also has Nahiri.
And she seems pretty angry at one Soren Markov.
Correct. So
we wonder where she was, and we know that Ugin. If you remember, Ugin sort of sent Soren to go and find her at the beginning, like when he's like back on Khans, and Soren finds Ugin on Khan, on Tarkir, I should say. And he's like, "Hey, so the Eldrazi are out," and Ugin's like, "Okay, well, we need Nahiri," and he's like, "You need to go find Nahiri," and he's like, "But I don't wanna."
Okay.
And then he's been gone. He's been gone since then. And notice that the Eldrazi have been doing what they want, and he's still trying to find Nahiri. So I think he done something bad.
Probably. And as we are inferring from this flavor text, Nahiri found him or has been on Innistrad. I don't know which necessarily.
So isn't Nahiri the girlfriend who's like throwing all the things out of the window?
Yes, except all the things are the plane of Innistrad.
It's awesome.
And the window is actually existence in this particular case. But
wow.
It's pretty interesting. So the card that she's referenced in and is a red card too, which is kind of maybe telling. Maybe we'll see a wrathful Nahiri that is potentially like red white, which I think would be pretty cool to see because we've only had one like red white walker, right? Which is a Johnny Vengeant.
Johnny Vengeant. Yeah.
There hasn't been anything else, I don't believe.
Nahiri full of vengeance?
Yeah. Nahiri full of rage. But I think that's pretty sweet to see. So yeah.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, hopefully something cool will come out of it, but we'll have to just wait until March, beginning of April, I guess. I don't know. To see what gets spoiled and what leaks out from the set. So
Now,
All right.
in addition to that, we had one thing, and this is an official thing, so I guess.
Yeah, so we're welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back if you skipped all the spoilery, the semi-spoilery stuff.
Don't worry, I skipped it too. I walked out of the room.
Yeah.
Time traveled.
Anyway, what else is going on?
So they announced the second set in the block for Shadows of Innistrad, which is Eldritch Moon.
Yeah.
Which congrats to friend of the show, Sam Stoddard. He said he's the lead, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Lead developer.
Yeah, lead developer. It's pretty insane, you know? So we didn't get too much about this. There's some weird things. Like, they specifically didn't give us the set symbol.
Yeah.
Like, people asked about that. Like, don't you normally give us a set symbol? They're like, yeah, we're not ready to do that yet. That's kind of weird.
That's super weird because it's like it's not necessarily like a high definition image where you can like you know take a look at Battle for Zendikar. It's just like a hedron that's like kind of cracked and stuff. It's like what are you gonna yeah there's hedrons on Battle on Zendikar. We get that. So I don't know what they're putting into the set symbol that could be like hugely. It's just a little tiny picture of Emrakul.
Well, let me.
very
So
tiny.
I know people. I know may be ready to be done with the Eldrazi, but I do want to point out that and this could just be pure like extrapolation here, like, but if you're not familiar with the term Eldritch, it is not a common word. It is a word denoting like horror, right? But it's very commonly associated with the works of H.P. Lovecraft. If you're familiar with H.P. Lovecraft, he is the one who created Cthulhu, aka the giant spaghetti monster, which is essentially what Emrakul is based off of, and a lot of the Eldrazi in general. So it could be nothing. It could be. Or it could mean everything, but Eldritch is definitely something that's associated with yet sort of like Lovecraftian style of horror. So, just an interesting you can either take a lot from a word or it's just a word. So I don't know, but the word nerd in me loves it.
Yeah, I for one hope it's not Emrakul because I mean after spending some time in Zendikar,
She's coming around at some point.
I know, but like let's forget about it a the bit and then be like, remember me?
Wait, Emrakul's a she?
Yes,
Yes.
that's how
okay. I didn't know.
she is depicted. The god Emiria.
Emiria.
Yeah, the goddess Emiria. I should say.
Yeah, like if you look at Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, that card, like both Ulamog and Kozilek are depicted as like, so it's Cozy and
Ula.
Ula are both male, and Emiria Emrakul is a female. Whether or not they actually have genders in the actual blind eternities, I don't know.
Oh, okay, I've just never heard Emrakul referred to as a
I think
she,
you have.
so-
I think we've actually discussed it on here before.
I believe so.
I don't think so.
I understand it being confusing because when you look at the giant tentacle monster, you don't immediately go, I wonder what gender that is. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not a thing that passes through your mind.
No.
It's more like, I hope this doesn't kill me.
I also don't.
Yeah.
I also don't like pay attention to the storyline like you guys do. So I don't know. So, just
Yeah. We'll see. I'm excited. I love Innistrad. It's one of my favorite sets, Innistrad and Dark Ascension. So I'm excited to go back. I just hope it's not like, Emrakul's here. We found it, guys. I want there to be like some more mystery and like something else. Like, I don't know. Or I want it to be leading up to something like completely stupid. Like, how the Marvel universe is leading up to like the Infinity War. It's just like Ulamog shows up on New Phyrexia. What happens?
I mean, Emrakul?
What? Yeah, did I say something else?
No, it's like Ulamog's
Ulamog.
twin.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Emrakul.
another Ulamog.
So, yeah, because like if you've been paying attention to the Uncharted Realms the last 2 weeks, the Oath of the Gatewatch is definitely the Avengers. Like, it's 100% the Avengers. Like, it's definitely distinctly mentioned that they're going to, like, this is just the first threat they're going to go against. And even in Mark Rosewater's mailbag articles these last 2 weeks, somebody mentioned, like, did you ever consider letting the Gatewatch lose? And he's like, well, we just created this superhero team, so they've got to be successful the first time out, right? It's just like, the first time out, huh? Interesting. So,
Oh yeah, I mean that has to be the setup. I mean, this started with Magic Origins with showcasing 5 walkers, and this was going to be like these walkers are going to be used for storyline transportation basically. It's going to be interesting how they kind of wrap Liliana into it more.
they got to
in
get the Black
sets.
Power Ranger. Like, what are you missing?
I mean, like theoretically, but
They were going to try and get him Nicholas, but he was like, nah, I don't want to be part of your band. And they're like, fine.
we'll see what happens. I think that Liliana could be more of like they could spin her into more of a sinister character, and her be like the leader of the anti oath, if you will.
So she's like the Green Goblins, like Dark Avengers or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it was.
the Sinister Six.
No, well, like he like literally led a group of Avengers. For
Oh
a
yeah,
while.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're going to stop now. This is too much.
like a Thunderbolt-esque sort of situation
yes,
is what
yes,
you're
yes.
talking about.
As I push my glasses up my nose. Well, actually, if you look at page 2...
Anyway, yeah, sure.
You look at the corner, the art
that'd be cool
depicting-
too. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move forward with some of the other stuff they announced at the Pro Tour. So we have some changes to the World Magic Cup and WMCQ qualifiers. So for the this is for the World Magic Cup. It's going to be still split into 2 days, and then day 1 is now 7 rounds of Swiss, cut the top 48 teams for day 2. And then day 2 will break down into double elimination pods. Correct? All right.
Yeah, so, a lot of the complaints that the pros had was that they just didn't like the pod format. So day 1 is now just straight Swiss. And then depending on where you end up, like you may get buys on day 2. So it's kind of different. It's hard to explain.
But I feel like the World Magic Cup is always kind of hard to explain. But whatever.
Yeah, basically, like if you make day 2, then you get put into double elimination brackets. So as long as you don't lose twice in the same pod, then you move on.
Cool. And then the format for these are going to be Team Sealed and then Unified Modern Constructed. Now, when they announced the Unified Modern Constructed, there was a bit of a drama because it was sort of miscommunicated and then misreinforced, which I don't know how you can do, but they somehow found a way where it was listed that only one deck could have non-basics in it, which is absolute insanity. They have since, changed what they had said, obviously, and because that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it's pretty much the standard unified constructed rules where only one deck can have a certain card in it, I believe.
So the decks cannot share cards other than basic lands.
Other than basic
basically,
lands.
If one deck has Lightning Bolt in it, then only that deck can have Lightning
Bolt in it. You can't if it with standard unified constructed, it's like you can only have 4 of the same card
it's
across
like 4
your decks.
total, yeah.
Yeah,
so one
so
deck
that's
could have
the
2.
slight change that they have from modern to standard unified constructed. So, which I mean makes sense. Like, who wants to split lightning bolts anyway? No one.
Yeah, but you could split I don't know, Stony Silences or something.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think...
Again, I guess that's where it comes in, is like sideboard cards, where it's like, well, I kind of need this, but you kind of need this too.
I think it's really cool. I mean, at this point, it may just be like teams of 3 playing Eldrazi against each other. This got to play people. Eldrazi would be so good that they're gonna even be playing regular lands and just the terrible draft Eldrazi. Be I'm assuming this is just as good. All 3 players.
Yeah. So the also interesting thing is the next WMCQs were announced. Then one of them is going to be standard and 2 will be modern, which makes sense since they're the actual event will be a modern style event as well. And the new promo for the WMCQs is going to be that Abrupt Decay that we talked about that was sort of leaked out. So that's an awesome way to get more Abrupt Decays out there, I guess, theoretically. It's not necessarily a hot card in the first place, but I don't think any of the any of the promos they've had have been super hot cards necessarily. They're usually
was still sweet. That art.
I mean, they're good looking promos for sure, but they're usually rares. They're not usually mythics or anything like that. I think was Vengevine
Vengevine was a mythic.
Was a mythic? Was it a WMCQ promo?
I don't think
Well,
so.
they had Geist, right? That was one of them.
Geist.
Geist is the same
was a
trap.
mythic.
Yeah, that's a mythic. So there we go. At least we found one. All right.
I just enjoy that they made this the promo after they banned Splinter Twin. It's like, oh, cool. It's the format is actually, not that great for Replicate right now, but it's still a great card in general.
Yeah,
the
it's
art
fine.
of this is so sick. Oh man,
Poor
goblin.
The poor goblin. Just everything is melting in front of him.
Yeah, I really like the flavor text too.
Yeah, it's actually really sweet. The worst part isn't the pain or the smell or even the fear of death. It's hearing the clatter of bones on stone and knowing the bones are yours.
Oh God. Ugh. That's horrifying. All right.
So we don't know cities yet, though, right? That's the one thing we do not know.
No, they usually take forever to kind of leak out.
Well, the first one being in June, it can't actually be that long. For
I guess that's true.
So I'm just hoping that we in the Midwest finally get one.
It's never close.
I mean,
to us.
We have
it'll be Philadelphia again or something
so
silly like that.
Philly is so just so awful. Give us Columbus. Come on, we deserve it.
We're good for it.
We're good for it.
One other thing,
or Indy like that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Indy would be pretty great. Yeah. One other thing they said was that the WMCQs are going to be 2-day events now.
Mm-hmm. So it's just like straight. They were, some of them were 2-day events depending on attendance or something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's obviously a good change. You don't want to have some events be 2-day and some not, and it makes it a little bit more of that sort of GP flavor, which is good, and it encourages.
Okay. Correction. Sorry, I just read it again. They're not requiring 2-day WMCQs. So if they don't have a large enough one, they're not going to require people to come back for a second day.
Oh, okay.
My apologies. I didn't.
Well, look at that.
Correctly.
Dave spreading misinformation on our podcast.
Hey, I mean, just like Wizards. I mean, that's...
Wow. The daggers. Fair enough. Yeah, so, okay. Well, then never mind. I guess some will be 2-day and some won't. Your mileage may vary.
What?
Well,
No,
I mean, maybe you could drive back
I
for
get
day 2. Maybe that could be a thing. Anyway, lastly, we do want to note that the Pro Tour Gauntlet is up, and the deck lists have been revealed as to what you can play, including many flavors of the Eldrazi deck, and Death Shadow is one of the options.
Did the Eldrazi deck do well or something? Is that why they have so many?
We will talk about that, but
okay.
I'm going to cut to the chase and say yes, they in fact did. We also have the Arielax and company played a Cord Malira deck, an Abzan Cord Malira deck that had a few combos in it. You have Burn as well, and Infect as some notables. And then anything else that you guys want to shout out to?
I mean, we could just Blue Moon, Jeskai Control, which is the sneaky Kiki.
Yeah,
Jaeger Velger's mod deck. Mardu, Through the Breach, Valakut, Zoo. So
yeah, the red-green.
Red green, yeah, Valakut, yeah. Yeah, I said Valakut, not Scape Shift.
No, the red-green Valakut deck does play Scape Shift too.
I mean,
does.
it's ancillary. It's a primetime deck.
Is the Through the Breach deck the interesting nifty one?
It's the one with Jace's, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
The Kentaro Yamamoto's, who I think he was 1 win away from top rating.
Nice.
He lost to, I think it was the eventual winner. I have to check.
Oh, I've played against that deck at the regionals, and he played Blood Moon against me, and he died. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to play against
this one.
Deck.
Isn't. We were talking about this. This one isn't actually running Blood Moon, but yeah, I've seen a couple of versions of that running around. That's like Blue Moon Through the Breach, which is sort of interesting. But
it's interesting. He played it, and then all of his lands became mountains, and I didn't have to care about anything he could possibly do. So it was great. But yeah, I think. Dave, you said that you were in a queue and you had Death Shadow, and it was pretty sweet to play.
Yeah, I just finished one up. Basically, I mean, you guys showed up at my house, and I was in the last round. Yeah, I played the Death Shadow Zoo deck, Yoel Larson's list, which was pretty cool because I was actually thinking about building that list in Modern now because I don't need... I probably need to get like 8 cards, but unfortunately they're like Tarmogoyfs and like Goblin Guides and stuff. But I was like, yeah, this deck looks pretty sweet. I want to try it out. And that was just happened to be the one that I got. And I had a turn 3 kill in each of the 3 rounds. So it was pretty cool. Turn 3 kill with Thoughtseize backup through blockers. All 3 times. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. But yeah, it was fun. Beat 2 Eldrazi decks and lost to Abzan Company in the finals. But I don't think that's a good matchup anyway. Anyway, though, it was fun. I'll probably do some more of those.
Sweet. Was it worth your play points?
No, not really.
Okay,
I went 2-1 and then just got my play points back, so I didn't actually gain anything. But it was a good way to kill a couple hours.
All right, fair enough. Well, that is pretty much everything that we have for the community. Let's go ahead and move over to the competitive segment. So obviously we had a Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch over the weekend, and I have to say that I watched a lot of coverage on it. We as a group watched the finals, which is pretty sweet. I watched a lot of coverage on Friday. Saturday we didn't see anything. We were at regionals, so that was kind of unfortunate. But overall, I would have to say the coverage was pretty good.
Yeah, we missed the gut shot heard around the world,
which is unfortunate.
But yeah.
We read about it. which is not nearly as good. But what are you going to
But
do?
You can go back and watch the. They have a top 5 moments article, which is kind of nice. Yeah, I was sort of skeptical to see what sort of this is sort of their new changes they're talking about, like how they've reduced some of the GPs, but they're going to focus on coverage. They got a nice new desk.
The desk was sweet,
which like was mentioned to me. Like they got a new desk. I'm like, what does that matter? And I was like, man, that desk is nice.
It's a good desk.
Yeah, it did look nice.
I don't want to devote a lot of time of the podcast to the desk, but that's a
it
solid
was
desk.
a sharp desk. It was good.
I'm impressed.
Like,
I'm not gonna lie.
it's little things like that though. That's just like, well, yeah, they got a desk. Was like, man, but that desk. I mean,
Yeah, like,
there's
could
some
you-
professionalism in that.
Could
desk.
you take ESPN seriously if they didn't have a good desk?
No,
Probably
yeah,
not.
ESPN just had like some like
Yeah, well,
some like card tables.
yeah. Let's pump the brakes. They don't have quite the Sports Center studio yet for the Pro Tour,
they're
but
getting
it was pretty good. Yeah, it was a
Listen,
step up.
we have to give them praises when praise is due. All right.
I don't expect them to have a Sports Center studio. That's just insane. But yeah, it was pretty nice. I liked what they did with the commentary for the top 8 as well when they brought in Frank Karsten to commentate on the Infinity matches, which was pretty cool. I was like,
Yep.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
They had Efro in the semifinals,
Yeah.
and then sadly LSV in the finals. Like,
Yeah,
that made me sad.
Hate to cut to the chase. LSU was commentating in the finals. So let's first of all discuss, the winner. JC Tao is the winner. He was playing Blue Red Eldrazi. So congrats to him. Winning a Pro Tour is pretty awesome to see, and it's not a name that we necessarily have heard a lot about, but clearly picked the right deck for the tournament.
And shout out to his team as well, Team East West Bowl.
Team East West Bowl. That's a wonderful. that's a wonderful name. If you don't know what that is from, pause the podcast
We'll
if you
wait.
can. We'll be here when you get back. If you are at a place where you can do this, go to YouTube, search Key and Peele East West Bowl, watch all the videos that are related to it directly, and then you're welcome. And then come back to the podcast. Don't do this if you're like driving or anything like that. Be safe. But you need to watch these things because they're amazing and worth every ounce of your time.
Does anybody know how Jammy did? Did anybody see him on camera?
Oh man, those are the best. Can we watch those after we get done with the podcast? They're so good. Anyway, so yeah, that's a great team name. Very, very awesome. Who could not root for someone who is a part of the team with that name? Come on, it's great. But I guess the actual true story of this tournament was that the top 8 was colorless. Let's cut to the chase. It was either Affinity, which were 2 of the top 8 deck lists, or some version of an Eldrazi list, which has colors in it, but they're devoid, so it doesn't matter. Or you're playing Simian Spirit Guides for you're cheating things out. By trying to play like a turn 1 Chalice of the Void. So that's cool.
Or just surprise dismembers.
Yeah.
I think that was the most effective use I thought of Simeon. Like,
You tapped out? Oh, okay.
yeah, like that's how they kept beating like Affinity or Infect. They would just be like, okay, you're tapped out. Okay, cool. Boom, boom, go. And it's like, actually, Exile Simeon Spirit Guide dismember. Ah!
Yeah, that card is notoriously known for doing dirty things in any format that it's involved in. Most of the time, it's either allowing things like Ad Nauseam to combo off a turn faster, or cheating in a Blood Moon. But it turns out these are just used for something that it is known for, cheating out a turn 1 Chalice of the Void for 1, which is fairly good, or just treating out a Reality Smasher and smashing face
On turn 2.
Yeah, correct. So basically, the crux of the tournament, what we find is that there are very powerful interactions between Ayabugan and Eldrazi Temple, and then cheap Eldrazi, like Eldrazi Mimic.
And we discussed this last week. We discussed the different flavors of the deck and how if there was going to be a version that was the version, it would show up here. Hilariously, we talked about all the different color variations. And then Dave, you messaged show chat. It's like, guys, we didn't talk about colorless.
Yeah, we forgot about just the straight colorless version. Apparently.
So the Channel Fireball version, which is the straight colorless version that was playing Simian Spirit Guides, cheat out Chalice of the Void, was sort of the talk of the town a bit. And, we see this list playing Eldrazi Mimic, Endless One, and Matter Reshaper, along with Reality Smasher and, Thought-Knot Seer, to have these huge threats that they get to cheat out early with their lands, and then kind of went out of nowhere. There are some turns where we would actually see like Eye of Ugin, Eldrazi Mimic turn turn 1 into turn 2, Thought Not Seer, Kraken for 8. Oh, so I stole your best card. So it's like, cool. I don't know how you went from there, but sometimes you do, I guess. But sometimes, you just can't. But these decks were very explosive and very kind of hard to combat effectively, which I think was a huge issue. And not to mention that there were a lot of teams that were playing some version of a colorless Eldrazi list, especially since this basic list was a combination of Channel Fireball and Team Face to Face coming together and making this deck. So this deck was very prominent because there were just so many people that had access to the list before the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this list was, like you said, it was the talk of the tournament, and it put so many people into the top 25. It was some absurd amount. It was totally dominant.
I think the best illustration of this was so Mike Seegers wrote a little bit this week, and he wrote that the deck was so good that he took 20. I think he was 23rd, and he was like the 10th best placer of his team. He took 23rd and did like really, really bad for his team. Like
finished middle of the road.
Like what? Like I top 25 at Pro Tour. No one cares. Like the rest of your team crushed you. Like that's terrifying.
Yeah. So there were 3 of these made the top 8. This
Correct.
Exact list. So we had Ivan Flock, Luis Scott Vargas, and Shuei Nakamura all playing this version of it. One thing that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about with this list is I really liked the fact that it's colorless. It lets you play more kind of utility lands.
Yeah.
Like they were able to run like the full 4 Blink Moth Nexus and play 3 Mutavaults, alongside 4 Ghost Quarters.
You got to see in the top 8 matches, you got to see an awesome interaction between Mutavault and Blinkmoth Nexus. Because the Mutavault that you have is that
It is a Blinkmoth.
It is a Blinkmoth, and turns out you can bump it. And I have to say that's a pretty nice interaction that you have access to.
Yeah.
And that's very true. Like having access to those utility lands, I'm sure won them a lot of games by just being able to be like, okay, cool, you don't have anything going on, I'm gonna like chip in for 1, or more, depending on what you're playing against.
Yeah, I mean this is an aggro deck in every sense. I mean it's pretty much just pedal to the metal. We're gonna just put out as many giant threats as quickly as possible, and even if you can clean those up, okay, well now I have these man lands.
Right.
They're gonna eat you up. So, I mean this list was, and really like you mentioned, the Chalice of the Void was really what stood out versus some of the other Eldrazi lists we saw, which is a great call for the metagame. If you look at the burn decks and in fact really rely on those 1 mana cards to win the game. If you just run out a turn 1 Chalice, then a lot of times you're just going to win on the spot.
Yeah, they have a hard time combating that.
Yeah, and it doesn't interfere with anything
you're doing.
that you're doing, unless you want to play an endless one for 1 mana. But who wants to do that?
I don't think that's.
I think it's the plan.
Common mode.
No. But I mean, moving forward, I don't know that we'll see that, just because Chalice is pretty much a blank in the mirror match. So. I would expect him to still play it in the sideboard, but I don't know if we'll see it in the main deck. Yeah,
it does seem like against a wider field, with this being a known quantity. And I think, we can talk about that a little bit. People have already started, based on these numbers, calling for, and not just, I want to say people, I mean like a lot of pros calling for instant bans of the Eldrazi lands. And Wizards isn't going to do that. If they were going to do that, would have announced it already this week. They're going to let a format shake out a little bit. And maybe after Detroit, maybe if Detroit is literally just like crawling with Eldrazi.
Yeah.
We'll see something, but I think you have to let the format shake out. And I was talking over the weekend how I felt like this version of the colorless list was definitely like tuned for the Pro Tour with those chalices. Obviously, the creature suite with the lands has proven to be, pretty effective regardless of what build you're looking at. But I think you'll see some variations because they also have to beat each other now. And I think it's a big deal. So it's interesting. Yeah, I agree, though. I don't think Chalice will be in the main next week or in a few weeks whenever we have another Modern tournament.
Yeah. Another thing about this list is just like there's nothing fair about it. You have 8 lands that basically add 2 mana. You have Simian Spirit Guide, which is like a ritual in a way. You're playing Phyrexian mana spells. You get 4 Dismember's Main and 3 Gut Shots on the sideboard. So it's just like all these things that Wizards doesn't really like at this point. It's like they don't really do this kind of stuff.
Pointing out all the flaws and that they've created in the last
We're just
decade.
Gonna play. I mean, and hey, kudos to Channel Fireball face to face. I mean, they found it and they just said, okay, we're gonna go hard. We're gonna make this the fastest, most streamlined.
CFB go hard.
CFB go hard. Yeah, they're gonna make it the most streamlined list, which you can see. But but moving forward, I don't know that this is the best one. But for this Pro Tour, I think it was.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, hilariously, that's actually probably just not true though.
All right.
Somebody managed to I feel
like,
bad because he's actually been not been talked about very much, even though he won the Pro Tour and beat 3 of these decks in a row.
Yeah, for sure.
We mentioned him.
So like the
You mentioned him.
No, all right. Let me rephrase what I said. It's not the best for the mirror, which we saw happen. We saw it play out in the top 8. But I think against a wider range of decks, this is a better
fair enough.
version.
Somehow, Jishin,
just JC.
JC.
That's what he's been going by.
I know. JC Tao, it's almost like his deck was set up to metagame against the other Eldrazi decks. The way it sort of went out. If you take a look at his list, this is the one that was the draft commons deck.
Yeah, so we have such great draft picks like Eldrazi Sky Spawner, and Ruination Guide, and Vile Aggregate. I first pick all those cards. If we're talking about triple BFZ draft, yeah, that's a sweet deck you're brewing. But these are in a modern deck, alongside the ones that the big heavy hitters that we got from Oath of the Gatewatch, Thought Not See a Reality Smasher, Drowner of Hope. I've already played in a standard construction tournaments many a time. Drowner of Hope's sweet. I'm glad it's seeing modern play. Sure, I'm all about it.
And really, the big gun, the one that was really sort of taking these matches over, was Eldrazi Obligator.
Yes.
That card did so much work on camera against the other Eldrazi decks.
He was giving people some obligations they had to attend to.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Nope.
Yes.
No.
Too bad. I already said it.
Go back. We have to go back.
We have to go back. Anyway.
It's your jokes, Marty. It's your jokes.
Anyway, yeah, that card was doing some work for sure.
The One Gemstone Caverns was awesome too.
Yeah.
By the way. No, so this list, like you said, Morgan, we didn't really get to see much of the Saturday, what happened on Saturday. But we did see Friday night, they showcased this deck in the last round because he was going for, the 8-0 day one. And this is the first time I saw it, and I was just like, what is going on right now? It was like Sky Spawner into Vile Aggregate. I'm just like, is this real? And to be honest, I mean, it looked silly. I mean, we saw some of the other Channel Fireball lists, and it just looked, more powerful in general.
Decks.
Yeah. And you saw this one, and you're like, really? This one's gonna go undefeated? But
he's playing 1/2 of the Spirit Dragon in the sideboard.
Shuhei definitely had to read that card. He boarded it, and he's just like, huh? It's like, oh, this means that I win the race.
But I think that really just goes to show you how powerful the lands are, that you can play these kind of cards, that are mostly limited cards. And if you're essentially shaving a mana off the cost, it's like, how much better do they get? Well, you see what the wins Pro Tours.
I mean, compare Vile Aggregate, honestly, to Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, that card was insane.
A blank 5, at least a 1/5 in the minimum. But you were playing that in conjunction with even Eldrazi Sky Spawner, all of a sudden, you just got this beater. It's like, oh, and that's a lot of toughness. And and honestly, it's not the way his deck curved out. You had multiple board states where they were just extra copies of Reality Smasher, and that's just disgusting. So, yeah, I think obviously all of these people deserve handshakes, pats on the back, that sort of thing. But I like how he sort of took that idea and took it even further. Let's see how wacky we can get here, and it was just solid.
It's pretty wacky.
We got to give a shout out to Andrew Brown as well. He was
correct.
He also top aided with the same list,
and he was a part of Team East West Bowl as
correct.
well. So.
Right. So we want to make sure that he's in there as well.
Now, there is a third Eldrazi list here that we have to talk about that was piloted by Frank Lepore,
Recently unemployed.
former TCG editor-in-chief, playing more of a processor-based deck with Blight Herders, as well as the Strangler, man. Strangler top 8 at the Pro Tour.
Oh, man, so good.
But yeah, so this is kind of more of the list that people had been kind of putting forward as more of a potentially like black-white version. I know it's more the list that you had played in regionals, just for the sheer fact that it had actual processors in it. But this was sort of the interesting list. It's also very multicolored as well. It has like a World Breaker in it. It's playing. Obviously, the Wasteland Strangler, and then Draughter of Hope is also in this list as well. So
yeah, this list really made good use of the of Corrupted Crossroads, the sort of City of Brass for Devoid. So interestingly, just like the way that these matches played out, and if you look at some of the stuff, if you look back at some of the matches, I actually think in the mirror, this actually might have been the best mirror deck. If you watch the top 8, Lepore had some really, really bad draws against Stephen Flock. I mean, absolutely terrible draws. But, like, you already have Drowner of Hope being a really great mirror breaker. Thanks, Dave's dog. Somebody's apparently breaking in on the second floor.
Anyway.
But Frank Lepore's list, so in addition to Drowner of Hope, also has 4 copies of Blight Herder, which, I mean, when you just need bodies in the mirror, like, there was games where he was behind and all of a sudden Blight Herder came down and just was cleaning up. And in conjunction with Drowner of Hope, just, like, led to just, like, board states that were muddled, all of a sudden the game was just over. He won. So, the awkward thing in the mirror is, like, how like you can sort of turn on other things, but because most of the other decks were no longer playing Blight Herder, he didn't have that much of a worry. I like Blight Herder a lot in these matches. Obviously, this list may not have been like as consistently explosive maybe as the other ones, but also like another deck that sort of ignored, you had Relic that could get countered by the Chalice, but sort of was able to go over the top. So he lost in a really sad gut shot to LSV, and he lost to some really bad draws like even Flock. So I think people will be like, oh, well, I'd rather play this version, but this deck has a lot of game against both the other versions of the Eldrazi deck.
Yeah, I think moving forward, this is not going to be what we see
No, probably
from the
not.
Eldrazi deck, but congrats to Frank Lepore. It's his first Pro Tour. He didn't have the same resources that some of these other large teams had. It was pretty much him and Melissa DeTora, and I think he was on like a list with maybe some another couple of players that may or may not have been even qualified. But hey, man, props to him. I don't know if there was anybody else playing this list in the Pro Tour, but yeah, it was cool to see. I mean, definitely
First Pro Tour type 8. Man, he's batting 1,000.
Yeah,
So
pretty good rate.
If he was trying to make sure that he was going to get picked up by another website for Magic content, he made sure of it.
Yeah, he definitely sent out a tweet that was like, anyone looking for a Pro Tour top 8 write-up? Which is pretty funny.
TCG players like, we are.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty interesting too because he was leading with I believe 4 rounds to go, and he had like 3 win-ins essentially, and he lost 3 in a row or something like that. And then because even Flock and Shui Nakamura could have drawn in the last round, but they chose to play it out. And then because of that, he was able to get in on breakers, whereas otherwise he would have been eliminated. So
Worked out well.
It worked out well for him. Yeah.
Now we, definitely have to mention the other deck that showed up in the top 8, which is Affinity with 2 copies. And I mean, we see very, well-known people playing it. We have Patrick Dickman as well as Pascal Maynard being the Affinity pilots, and those are 2 very well-versed modern players. It was noted multiple times that Patrick had already decided that he was not going to be playing Splinter Twin at the Pro Tour, was already working with Affinity, has had previous experience with Affinity as well. That's not nearly as well noted as his time with Splinter Twin, and
Memories.
so it's definitely something where he was definitely prepared for this playing this deck going forward, and then Pascal Maynard, again, another very prominent and respected member of the Magic community. I don't necessarily know his modern preferences necessarily, but clearly picked a good deck for the weekend. Affinity was one of the most represented decks in the format. And besides Eldrazi.
You already saw some of the team testing showing itself. A number of teams mentioned that they had some version of the Eldrazi deck, and they couldn't quite tune it the same way the Channel Fireball did. But you'll notice the two versions top 8 have no Etch Champions in the main. Like, actual zero. Master of Ethereum is now a $20 card from this weekend.
Yep.
And the Etch Champion's in the board. Because, hilariously, Etch Champion doesn't do anything against the Eldrazi deck. It's like, all right, protection from all color. Oh, no.
you guys are the exemplary example of
I'm glad you caught that.
Of colorless, so I can't do anything. My etchings don't cover that. I guess.
Just reaches out and gives a little handshake, like, all right, guys, you got this. So I thought that was interesting, and honestly, I think we all thought that the Affinity decks, at least game 1, had a little bit of an edge on some of these Eldrazi decks. Now, obviously, Chalice can, depending on the draw, be great. Like a Chalice on 0 on the play against certain draws for Affinity is real rough. But you saw, even in powerful board states, these Affinity players not able to do very much. And you saw the power of, again, a couple times, the Dismember, exiling a Simian Spirit Guide, you want to be able to play around it, but at some point you have to trust that you can attack your opponent when they're tapped out. You know what I mean? And you saw them sort of get blown out multiple times. So I don't know if you play that matchup over and over again how that goes out, but definitely the showing that we saw on camera for Affinity was not in line with what I expected.
Yeah, I mean that's 100% true, but I'm glad that maybe I'm glad that other deck showed up, but I can't imagine what happens if it's just all Eldrazi in the top 8. What does that look like?
What could have been?
You turn on coverage, and all you hear is.
But I mean, what are the I can't imagine it being much worse. I remember everyone already thinks the format is too warped and the world's ending. Everyone's already being the crier.
I think
wolves.
it was that Patrick Sullivan on Twitter who said if it wasn't all these Eldrazi decks in top 8, it would have been something else you were complaining about. So I don't know. If it would have been 8 Eldrazi decks, again, it's a Pro Tour where a deck broke the format. That hasn't happened in a long time. So I think you take it with what it is. You see if the format can recover from it, and if not, Wizards will make changes. But I don't think one top 8 having a ton of these decks necessarily means anything. 6 versus 8 decks when you're talking about. If you look at some of the decks that the people went 9-1 or 8-2 and didn't get in because of limited, not because of constructed. I think you have to take that into account in the Pro Tour. So.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, it broke the format, and it really did. I mean, we haven't seen something like this. I mean, there are a couple Pro Tours that stick out to me that had just busted decks that broke the format. So LSV's first Pro Tour win, Pro Tour Berlin with Elves, where it was 6 Elf decks in the top 8.
And that led to how many bans?
I don't remember.
Pretty sure it was 0.
That was extended, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not a format anymore.
But I'm just saying, though. I just something.
A whole format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Eventually.
Callblade eventually led to bans, but only after Batterskull was printed.
Callblade was also, that was standard. And then even to an extent, Pro Tour Theros with the mono blue devotion when that broke out, that wasn't as much, but it's still kind of. It felt like it was pretty dominant. I mean, I played in that Pro Tour, and I played against it in round 1, and I was like, "Oh, what's this deck? Turn 1, Judge's Familiar. LOL, what's this guy doing?" And
everyone always doubting Judge's Familiar, man.
Yeah, I know. He has multiple Pro Tours wins, so I know. But at the time, he didn't. And really, it was very apparent in that tournament that mono blue was a thing, and it didn't take long to realize that. It's I played got crushed against it round 1, started seeing it everywhere. I was like, oh no, I picked the wrong deck. And I'm sure a lot of people in this Pro Tour were kind of feeling the same way. They see what Channel Fireball's playing, they're like, oh no.
I done goofed.
And a lot of them said they came to that deck, so they must have been like, well, I couldn't make it as strong as I wanted to. Hope no one else does. And then they're just like, someone did it.
Yeah, I know they did an interview with Seth Manfield, and he said that they worked on an Eldrazi list, and they just couldn't come up with anything that was powerful enough or didn't have the win percentage that they wanted. BBD talked about working on the list, and
I think he had either Lepore's list or the Channel Fireball list. He said sent to him, and he couldn't pull the trigger. He was just like, this looks too bad.
Yeah, it's great. There were even people on JC Tao's own team that chose not to play the blue-red deck.
The Channel Fireball players who chose not to. Viggersball and them played Sneaky Kiki.
Yeah, I know what Cheon played Affinity.
Right.
Yeah, but it's crazy. I mean, you don't see this happen too often. I wouldn't say it's like a terribly bad thing, though. I mean, you mentioned like, it's like horrible that the 6 top 8. It's like, I don't know. That's kind of like what these teams are trying to do.
Yeah,
right?
hilariously, like the people who are really upset about this is actually what you want out of these Pro Tours. And you may think like, no, I don't want the format to go that way. But it's like, but if you're watching an event like this and you're rooting for a team, you want this to happen. Like this is what you're hoping. This is what they want to do. This is victory.
Do you think Wizards wanted that with all the new Oath of the Gatewatch cards in the top?
Oh my god, they were like doctor.
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists that are like, oh yeah, ban Splinter Twin so you can highlight the new set. Hashtag Illuminati confirmed.
People have been testing the Splinter Twin matchup against this deck just to see. They said it's not good.
No. I think Bloom. I think Bloom is still...
That one's... I saw there were some videos of people trying that, too.
And Bloom was still pretty good against it.
No way.
Go figure.
Hey, Dismember does not kill a prime time.
I guess we'll see how it goes moving forward, though. I mean, is this going to be, is it going to be like Cobblade, where it just dominated the format after? Or is it going to be like the blue-red Thopters deck after Pro Tour Magic Origins, where... And obviously that deck was rotating pretty shortly thereafter, but it really didn't do anything after, because once people knew about it, it's like, oh, okay.
I definitely think it's going to be better than that deck, just because the lands are so powerful.
Yeah,
but there are a lot of things in the format still to do well in this. If we start looking at even like the breakdown of these things, like most of the people playing the various Chord decks, we had an Abzan Chord itself, and also this Angel Chord deck, which, if you were familiar with Angel Pod, it plays 4 Archangel of Thune and Spike Feeder in addition to other things. Had a pretty good win percentage against it, and it makes sense when you have recursive threats that gain life. You can play the long game and combo them out. They don't have a lot of interaction otherwise, and Chalice is pretty average against them unless they have like a bird heavy draw. Additionally, things like Lantern Control, which Sam Black played and went 8-2 with in Modern, has a pretty good matchup against them. And Snaring Bridge is literally a permanent they cannot deal with, and once it comes down, they may not be able to win the game.
Well, they do have Ratchet Bomb.
Ratchet Bomb, that's right. They have Ratchet Bomb.
It's pretty slow.
But it's slow, and then you're giving them time to find the other copy. Lantern Control is another, these prison decks. I posted a deck that it was actually Alex Smith, Goblin Token Invitational winner.
Eric Smith.
That's
I was going to say Alex Smith.
The quarterback for the Kansas City. Yeah. But he's the one who posted a mono red prison deck that was like 4 Magus of the Moon, 4 Blood Moon, 4 Ensnaring Bridge, and a bunch of like Simian Spirit Guides and stuff. 5-0.
To which I replied that the deck was the dark side because it was so full of hate.
It was so much hate. And I think also like people are forgetting, just basic like Supreme Verdict effects are good against the deck. Now, yeah, they have like Thought Knot Seer. I get that. But in general, like decks that are like the deck doesn't kill. Like it can attack for a lot quickly. But in general, it's not killing on turn 2 or 3 or it's 4 or 5. You can cast a verdict against the deck, and then you can take your time. They're not drawing a bunch of cards. So I think the format will shake out a little bit. The deck will still be good, and I think it's fine if the deck is good. If it's oppressive, ban something. But like, let it settle.
I think it's ridiculous that people are calling for bans. Like, oh, what should they ban? It's like they literally just banned 2 cards like a month ago. I mean, we haven't even seen what's going to happen now. Like now we know that this deck is public enemy number 1, and people are going to be gunning for it. And we'll see what happens. Maybe there's some new decks that pop up that are just Eldrazi killers. And
the deck that I've been talking about for a long time at FNM, kept throwing this around, was the old Painter Servant Ugin deck, because that would be hilarious to play Painter Servant and then Ugin exile all lands. Well, all of a sudden, Painter Servant, how much is it now, Morgan?
It's between like $30 to $40.
Because all of the Eldrazi lands say colorless Eldrazi spells. Well, if Painter Servant makes them have color, they can't cast them. Actually hilarious.
It's true.
And so that could be a thing you see popping up, and people using that card as a way to slow that deck down. Which, I mean, the nuttiest nut draws for the Eldrazi deck, take a look at that card and just go, oh. And my first land was an Eye of Ugin. It doesn't tap for any mana. All right, let's go ahead. Yeah, everyone, we'll just agree to slow down for a little bit here. Let's think things through.
Yeah, and then obviously things like Warship have also become spiky cards as well. That's another way that people are using to sort of combat the Eldrazi deck because they do have to do damage to kill you.
And
as
those
it
and
turns
hexproof
out.
threats. Just like how you kill a troll ascetic. I don't know how you kill a troll ascetic.
Ratchet bomb,
Regenerate.
Kinda. I know regenerate.
Regenerate.
You gotta kill the Warship
somehow
at
you
that
gotta
point.
catch him off guard with the sneaky ratchet bomb sitting in play for 3 turns.
Dun 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 dun.
And then we also talked about it in the Snaring Bridge, obviously already. But there are options and there are ways, and I feel like a lot of people are calling for bans. Obviously we said a lot of pros are saying like the deck's too powerful. They can't suggest you playing any other deck in Modern except for this, which is a bit like disconcerting.
Don't get me wrong, the deck is busted, but the format will evolve. People will adjust accordingly for this deck, just as the Eldrazi deck will adjust accordingly. Maybe they'll start playing Artifact to kill Ensnaring Bridges. You know what I mean? So you can't. We'll see where it goes. Now, if it continues to dominate, maybe something will need to be done.
We've already even kind of seen some evolution of the Eldrazi deck. We've seen red-green versions popping up that have 4 World Breaker in them, and that's pretty good at blowing up lands, enchantments, and artifacts, as it turns out, which are all really good, especially, let's say, in the mirror, when you're like, oh, that's a nice Ivugan you have, or a nice Eldrazi temple you have. You don't have it anymore. It's gone. And then, obviously, for killing all the hate cards. So, I mean, that's a way that people are changing this deck, and just using those really powerful lands to play a little bit different of a game.
Sterling Grove reprint incoming.
So we'll see what happens. What other decks do we want to talk about here that showed up and performed well in the Modern format at the Pro Tour?
I mean, as I said, a lot of like stuff that we've seen a little bit of is that we had the various chord lists, we had Lantern Control, Reduke had Jund, so those classic decks are still there. We did have the Mardu archetype show up, which is like a really weird deck that I think Paul Reitzel went 7-3 with, or 7-2-1 with. Which was like 1 of Johnny Vengeance, 3 Liliana of the Veil, and like 2 Abbot of Carol Keep, 4 Dark Confidant, 1 Fulminator Mage, 1 Grimomancer, and then removal spells and discard effects and like Lingering Souls. Deck was like really interesting. Essentially a non-blue control deck from the way it's like set up, which is a nifty deck. Probably not positioned very well against the Eldrazi deck. The way it sort of shakes out here, what with its 4 Inquisitions, 3 Thoughtseizes, 4 Bolts, 4 Paths. Getting hit there. So, but that was sort of a deck. We talked about new archetypes coming up. You know what I mean? And it's not like this archetype hasn't existed, but this was a new take on that archetype that had a couple people play it and do well, and a couple people who are on the same team that had access to Eldrazi and ended up playing this instead. And did well enough with it to have consideration. So, if these are cards that you own and you for some reason get ill when you consider tapping islands, maybe this is a deck for you.
Yeah. I do want to note that one of the better performing lists was also a zoo list piloted by Philip Braverman. And this was a bigger zoo list that has the advantage of being able to play 2 main deck Magus of the Moon, which is pretty interesting tech if a bunch of players are wanting to play some degenerate lands. And you can just turn them into mountains.
So I actually liked a couple other zoo lists that showed up. So Michael Majors played a pretty sweet zoo list with Burning Tree Emissaries and Reckless Bushwhackers, which I thought was pretty cool. We kind of mentioned that a couple weeks ago. And also like he's playing 1 Devastating Summons, which is a card I haven't seen since that was in Standard.
Played that card in Standard. It was sweet.
Yeah, that was from Rise of the Eldrazi, right?
Yeah, yep.
Original one.
Played it in Kuldotha Red.
Yeah. So if you don't know what that card is, it's a 1 red for sorcery. As an additional cost, you sacrifice X lands, and then you put 2 XX red elemental creature tokens onto the battlefield. So if you play this, say if you have 3 lands in play, you float 3 mana, pay your 1 red, sack all your lands to make 2 3/3s, then you can play Reckless Bushwhacker, and then attack for, what's that?
8.
Oh,
or no, 10. Right? Cause
so they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 10? Yeah.
10. It doesn't pump itself.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, that card is powerful inherently. Obviously, sacrificing all your lands is scary, but...
Yeah, and you never want to draw more than 1, so I appreciate the 1 in there.
Yeah.
And then the other zoo list I wanted to mention was the one that Team Eureka played. We kind of mentioned it earlier, the Death Shadow zoo list, which a lot of people played and actually did pretty well.
Had the Eldrazi deck not done what it did day 2, that would be the deck we'd be talking about right now.
Right,
That's true.
Right.
Oh wait, we are talking about it right now. I mean, this entire segment.
Yeah, I mean, but that list has floated around for a bit of time now, and had been gaining a little bit of prominence before the Pro Tour. At least, like I know, Channel Fireball definitely did a video series about it.
Definitely, at least 2 members of that team I have played them on Moto Leagues playing that deck, and I remember going, "This deck is miserable. Why are they playing it?" and beating both of them. So I feel really good about that.
There you go. Congratulations.
Yeah, it is definitely odd when you look at it. You're like, I don't know how this does anything, but I mean, I just played it, and it was really fast, and could definitely. I was surprised at how consistent I could present a turn 3 kill. So
yeah,
I mean,
that deck makes Death Shadows like huge. When you cast them, like you can cast them on generally sometimes on turn 1, but on turn 2 and have it be relevant.
Oh yeah, like I went like turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Death Shadow. It was like a 5/5. Turn 3, mutagenic growth, which is like +4 on a Death Shadow, and then Teamer Battle Rage. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's it definitely has Burn is an awkward matchup, but like it's hilarious against Infect because like you just like outside of games where Ray Perez presents a lowly dried arbor that kills you. In general, like you can just like your guys are goldfishing in the most awkward way you've ever seen. Where it's just like, oh, I don't care about my life total. It's like, oh, I don't care about your life total either. But like a lot of the decks in the format, Affinity can obviously pressure the life total fast as well. But this deck, thrives on the lack of interaction from Affinity. You can just Team or Battle Rage them out sometimes. And a number of the other decks, even if they're quick, they may not pressure your life total that fast, and you're just a turn faster than them. Like you look at like the Scapeshift decks, it's just like, yeah,
I don't think those exist anymore.
Well, I mean, we had at least one. The red green version has been pretty popular. The Durdley version, unfortunately, seems to have the Bring to Life version seems to have passed away.
Yeah, that's it's way too slow.
But I think like there's a lot of decks in the format that this deck can just obviously Eldrazi presents some awkwardness where things like Chalice for 1 can be a Death Shadow sentence. Oh man, I feel really good. I got to stretch after that one.
Oh yeah, no, my jokes get rejected, but that was good. That was fine.
Do you think that was really bad?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was really.
Remember
bad.
what I said to yours? You said too bad. It's already there.
Yeah.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah. Nothing I can do about it now.
It's gonna cast a shadow over the rest of the cast.
Wow.
Want me to stop?
Please.
Can't stop. Won't stop.
Anyway, but yeah, I think that a lot of people really like this deck just because like it's weird and it does like weird things and
It plays cards that people love too.
yeah, exactly.
I'm a fan. Like I saw that list, and like I said, I kind of want to play it.
Like,
all right.
How often I'm like, man, I get to play like Taxing Probes and Baubles and Street
Monastery
Raids.
Swift Spears. Like it's kind of like playing prowess a little bit.
So I kind of talked about like how I think you mentioned this to me too, but how like Bauble was sweet against them, like against the opponents, because like you could tell like based on one card on top whether or not you could actually go all in or not. So you could just play the Bauble first, pop it, and then decide how much damage you were going to do to yourself. So like if you pop it and there's like lightning bolt on top, you're like, land go. But if you're like you pop it and they're like a Thoughtseize or something on top, you're like, oh John, oh okay.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times you could bobble yourself as well, and then it's like if you want the card, then you don't fetch. But if it's like a land or whatever, you're like, oh, okay, I'll fetch now and draw something else. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly there just to turn 3 deck, make your turn voice bigger. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely different than some of the zoo lists we've seen. What do you guys think of the Blue Moon deck?
Yeah, you're talking about Jason Chung's list?
Yeah,
That's the one I had up as well.
Now I know Li Shijian also played it. They were on the same team, the team MTG Mint card.
Right. Honestly, I felt like this deck, and we saw at regionals, which we'll talk about. This deck was kind of popular there, and it makes sense. You get to play counter magic, which, if you pay attention to the format, not a lot of decks are doing right now. And these Eldrazi decks, specifically the ones that aren't playing like Blightherder or Oblivion Sower in the main, are fairly weak to counter magic. They aren't cast triggers. So you get to play counter magic. You get to play Blood Moon, which the format is shaking out. I mean, if you look at again, these Eldrazi decks, but even like the Death Shadow deck, like if you can keep them at bay and cast a Blood Moon, it gets really awkward for them. So I think this deck was well positioned, and you saw like they were all in on Batter Skulls. They had 3 in the 75 because
it's insane.
Where the Kolaghan's commands go, right? With the the Grixis deck sort of gone, they felt a little safe. So I like this list a lot.
Yeah, I will mention you mentioned the counter magic against Eldrazi. Some of the versions are playing Cavern of Souls.
Some of them were.
It makes
You're
it a
right.
little
Some of
awkward.
them were.
But yeah, if they don't have that, then yeah, they're
But
pretty
like the
good.
Colors version definitely wasn't. And
Right.
like you can just like remand their Thought Knot Seer and then stick the Blood Moon, and then that's like and that version, once the Blood Moon's down, like the versions of Drowner of Hope at least have like Drowner of Hope to if they have basic islands, so they could try to get Scions into play.
Mm-hmm.
But the Colors version has like you have to have a waste.
They have a waste. I mean, they can kind of protect themselves if they hold up Ghost Quarter.
They hold up Ghost
and
Quarter,
Ghost Quarter
true.
their own land.
But if you
yeah,
lock them out without the waste, they just can't cast things.
yeah.
Like, this Thought Knot Seer requires colorless, but everything taps for red.
Yeah, it's really weird how that works. But yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like a lot of people that like played Twin. It's like, oh look, I can still play.
I have all these cards already.
Not Splinter Twin cards, but still play all the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also interested that these decks sort of moved away from Shackles, which was sort of like one of the main things before. And I wonder, I mean, I feel like Shackles might be fine again, seeing how these decks go forward. Like, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like,
Let me tell you about Shackles. I got destroyed by that card at regionals. So yeah,
I hate to
wasn't
tell you,
good.
Delver's not a good choice at the moment.
No, it's really bad. Really bad now.
The look in a Delver of Secret's eyes when it gets Wasteland Strangled, it's just glorious. I mean, sad. So sad.
It's very sad. Anyway, anything else? Any other notable decks that we can talk about? I didn't see a whole lot that really took my fancy as far as the bigger decks that we haven't already talked about. So
I liked Yamamoto's list.
Yeah,
We kind of mentioned it, but we
the
didn't
Through the
really
Breach list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't really talk about it. It was playing Jace, which is pretty sweet.
Correct, yeah. So Jace obviously does a lot of good things for the deck for sure. That is true. I did want to talk about there was an ad nauseum list that did do fairly well.
I'm going to guess this is a German player named Grafensteiner.
Probably.
Daniel Grafensteiner.
They didn't have his first name. It literally just says
Yeah,
Grafensteiner.
I know.
Which
but
is
that's his
awesome.
name.
Yeah.
It sounds really metal. I just want everyone to know.
So that was also the other list that was abusing Simeon Spear Guide to some extent. But
and I think it's important to note that the ad nauseum here shows up at the 7-3 bracket, but it also won our regionals.
yeah, won our regionals and also showed up in a couple other regional top 8s. So in the deck, like the pieces of the deck have been picking up in price. Not just Simeon Spear Guide, but other actual like genuine pieces of the ad nauseum combo have been picking up in price due to the fact that this deck is still pretty all right against Eldrazi. You probably have some awkward interactions with a Thought Knot Seer. Play 2 ways to kill your opponent. 2 Lightning Storms or a Conflagrate.
This was playing a Lightning Storm and a Laboratory Maniac.
Yep, that is also another option that you can do. Definitely is something to look into. I know it's going to be my backup deck. I played ad nauseum, but then sold some of the pieces when they went up a little bit. But then I kind of bought back into it because the deck is just fun. I don't know. So it's definitely a good backup deck, and it's something a lot of people don't necessarily think of right off the bat. And plus, it's just fun to draw your whole deck. I don't know what to tell you. It's fun to just like, I'm going to cast the Nauseam and do the whole pick up my deck. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, this is what this card does.
I had like negative something, but that's okay.
I have Phyrexian on life. I'm like a negative $1 billion, but who cares? I'm going to kill you. So it's good. I got to, is it John? Yeah, John Benson was the winner of our regionals with, he's first of all, one of the best ad nauseum players that probably exists in the world. More than likely, like that's all he plays in Modern.
I'd give him that. He's definitely the best in this region, I think.
For sure.
Guy will literally not play Magic for a while and just be like, "Oh, Modern event."
Sweet ad nauseum. Also, his list is very different than what you would typically see. He plays like Shocklands and Fetches, and some sweet Kamigawa lands. I know that for sure. So it is, watching him like play the deck is pretty interesting,
And we can link to Comic Town's regional top
for
8
sure
list in the show notes.
Oh yeah, and but yeah, it's pretty sweet. And hey, I wasn't necessarily right about this, but I was right about it in Modern in general, kind of from last week. So whatever, I'll take it.
I think that deck's gonna be really good at beating the Eldrazi decks as well, because like Chalice doesn't really.
They've got a
do
lot of
much
ones,
against
but
it.
I think if the deck moves away from Chalice, then
Yeah.
it's one of those combo decks that like it doesn't have any answers for. Like a Thought-Knot Seer can stop stop a good like Storm Draw cold, but it's not always as effective. Like, maybe you hit the one win condition, but like
Yeah, and like a lot of the decks are playing Spoils of the Vault.
Yeah.
So you don't you don't even necessarily have to have the way that you win in hand, and also you can win at instant speed, which is a huge boon to the deck as well. So like I said, I'm already a fan. No one has to sell me on it, but it's a cool option, and I already bought into it. So if you guys want to spike the heck out of it, I don't care.
All right, so I got one last list I just want to mention here. This one went 7-3. This is Paul Yeem playing Through the Breach Scapeshift. So this is a Jund colored deck, but it's mostly just red green. But it's basically just your red green Scapeshift, and just throw in some Through the Breach and Emrakul.
Yeah, who cares?
Because
I'm gonna kill you one way or another.
so throwing some Through the Breach and Emrakul, baby. You guys still go.
You guys still going?
The black is for one slaughter games on the board. It looks like.
Oh, well, fair enough.
So that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, this is I don't know. I guess you think you're playing against one thing. Next thing you know, we get Emrakul coming down.
Like, well, they got 5 lands. I got plenty of time, and you're just like
killing you.
Yeah.
Oh no!
These lists, I've seen them on I think Magic Online a little bit here and there, and that's what they have. They do have that very sweet surprise factor within them. So
Yeah, I mean, even just through the breaching at prime time is pretty sweet.
yeah, it's probably good enough a lot of the time.
You
so.
get a lot of lands out of it.
Yeah.
I want to figure out the flavor of like Through the Breach Emrakul against the Eldrazi board, and they're all like, Emrakul, why? Like, we were friends, and
We trusted you. It's all right. I mean, they kind of knew what's up. Emrakul already left. She abandoned them, so whatever.
well, so again, not to go too all on the flavor stuff here, but they explained how the Hedrons work in the article of Uncharted Realms today, and how the Hedrons, like the reason that Zendikar is so full of mana and pulses and has the Royal is because the Hedron network actually sucks energy from the Titans. That is why they can't leave yet. They've been trying to leave, and Zendikar is like, ba-boom, ba-boom, and that's why it's so angry. And Emrakul is powerful enough to be like, I'm out. I just want you to think about that. Like, Kozilek and Ulwog cannot leave the plane because of how much energy Zendikar is taking, and Emrakul is like, nice try. So just think about that for whatever moon we may find her on.
No, I don't want it.
Did you see the Obi-Wan meme with like Emrakul? That's no Eldritch Moon.
Anyway,
Just Emrakul turning around.
so we do want to also send out a congrats to Owen Turtenwald. He locked in his World Championship slot by winning the Mid-Season Master slot, I guess.
Which means that he has the most pro points at this point. Well, halfway through the Pro Tour season. So.
Yeah. So
I
sweet.
think it's kind of nifty. You had little things going off like that. I wish I would have done like a confetti 1000s customer sort of thing. Just
Yeah.
like attack lethal. Okay, good match.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's surprised that he's going to be there. He is the number one player in the world currently, so
Yeah, it makes sense.
he's going to be there one way or another. But that's cool. So we know JC Tao and Owen will be there, and who won the last Pro Tour? I don't know.
Wasn't it Olarson?
Gil Larson? Yeah. No, he
Was
I
that
don't-
the
I don't
last
know.
Was
one?
either Larson or what? Dang. No, was that
No,
further
Dang was
back?
That was
while
last
ago.
year. Yeah.
Oh.
I thought it was Larson. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Somebody's gonna be in there. To the Google,
and
Morgan goes.
Seth Manfield. He'll be
That's
there.
who it was.
He won last year.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, do we want to talk regionals a little bit then? So regionals was in a really interesting place this year because we had all this like Eldrazi stuff coming from the Pro Tour into these events, and these regional events were huge. I know we have a lot of people, listening across, not to like toot our own horse. We got some people listening across the country, but I know that you guys experience like, if you were in the Providence area, you're going to that regional. They're like 600 players, right? We were capped at 350, and people were turned away. And I know a lot of places were talking about being turned away.
Kazuyuki Takemura was the winner of Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar.
Yes.
Okay,
That's right.
I just didn't want to be left out.
No, I appreciate it. So like we had a lot. In ours we had a number of like pretty prominent players. We had Ken Ketter probably being one of the more known who lost in the finals playing the colorless Eldrazi deck. So we definitely had that running around. But it was interesting to sort of see like how that tournament, like the day-to-day buzz from what regionals was going to be shifted so hard in response to the Pro Tour. So it was kind of exciting to see, and it was a really fun, insanely long tournament.
It was 9 rounds for sure.
9 rounds with really weird numbers.
Yeah.
Really sad numbers for me. What are you gonna do though? So, but I don't get to talk first. I did well.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I'll go first since I did the worst.
No one actually did terrible though.
No, I mean we all had winning records, which
no
is
one
pretty
went
good.
1-3 drop like I have the last 2 opens.
Right,
so.
correct. We all played till the end, which is great. And this was my first outing with Tron. And you know what? In all honesty, I played against Infect twice, which is like, wow, that's a really hard matchup. I tell you what.
Tell you what, boy.
So that was a bit unlucky. That is definitely the worst matchup. And then I played against a Affinity player who was unfortunately very sad for some reason and did not like communicating with me, but still won regardless. So that's fine. And then what was I lost to something else, but I can't remember. Rats, but I went 5-4 on the day.
You lost to Rats?
No, I didn't lose to Rats. No one,
Relentless Rats?
No one
Pack
played.
Rat?
No one played Pack Rat. No one played Pack Rat against me. Luckily enough, but the deck felt great. I was I had a very good time playing with it. I actually started off pretty well in the tournament. Running an Infect twice was a little bit unfortunate. We did have a person, Cody Napier, who also top 8 it with Red Green Tron with a little bit of a different take on it, who had ran into a little bit better matchups. So I think the deck is still all right, and I don't think it was ever something that was going to be like super powerful. I think it blowing up and being something huge was a little bit overblown.
I think all Eldrazi said the worst thing that could have ever happened for Red Green Tron was Twin getting banned. So that was kind of funny. Everyone's like, yeah, look how good Tron's going to be. Oh no, bring back Twin.
But yeah, and especially even Bloom getting banned because that changes sort of the land hate that people play. People now are gunning for Red Green Tron. So it is definitely something that is medium in the format. It's not going to be like the new hot thing that people are going to obviously combat, since Eldrazi is now the new hot thing anyway. So we'll see where the deck goes. If they ban Eye, that makes the deck a little bit worse, obviously, and maybe that could be something they're looking to do for a little bit of collateral damage against one of potentially powerful decks in the format, another big mana deck, another unfair deck. I of course hope that doesn't happen, because then I'm going to be sad once more. But we can always play Sanctum of Ugin. It's not nearly as good, but whatever. You make do. I
think we can officially retire Red Green Tron from the annals of the unfair decks. I don't think it's not unfair enough.
It's
not unfair enough.
Like, there were so many decks at this Pro Tour that were just killing people on turn 4. It's just like, all right. So like Red Green Tron, when Red Green Tron is like a reasonable deck, then maybe something's wrong with the format.
We do declare Red Green Tron. To be fair,
turns out turn 3 Karn no longer the worst thing that you can do in the format.
Yeah, turn 3 Karn, I'll allow it.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? But it was fun, and I definitely want to be able to play the deck again. Hopefully, the format allows for that. So we'll see. But I mean, who cares? They're still going to be. In fact, it's not like having bad matchups in the format really should deter anyone from being able to play a modern deck. But yeah, it was good. It was enjoyable. I'm glad I picked it up.
I think you definitely would have had one more win if you weren't playing those 8th edition Tron lands.
Yeah, whatever, man.
Concurred. Oh my god, those.
You guys can hate them, and I understand that, but it was my choice. All right.
It was.
But just know that you gave
got
up.
punished
You gave
for it.
up a win because of that.
You attract infect with those lands.
Is that
Yeah.
how that works?
Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever. If you guys want me to have better lands, you should buy them for me.
I offered to let you use my black border and signed ones. Like, what are you talking about? You could have played the sweet antiquity lands without any hassle. Don't you try to put that. It's your bad planning.
It's not my bad planning. I picked those lands. I wanted those lands.
Yes.
I really
That's why I
like.
said
I don't
I didn't
know.
say. That's why I said planning. I'm confused. Yes, you planned for that. You planned to fail.
Right. That was my choice.
Okay, well, whatever.
I chose to fail. I really like the power plant art. I don't know what to tell you. It's green. Green's my favorite color. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
All right. That's fine.
So I guess I'll go next. So I managed to 6-3 my third tournament in a row. So that was the thing, I guess. So 6-3 the Open, 6-3 the Modern Classic, 6-3 regionals, and I played just straight blue red delver. No, nothing fancy really. Probably the fanciest thing I played was 2 Pia and Karen Nalars on my sideboard, which were pretty sweet actually. Was 5-1, and then played against. See, round 7, I played against Green White Hate Bears, which is a pretty good matchup for the deck. Went to game 3, kept 2 lands, 3 Delvers. It was like 2 lands, 3 Delvers, like a Grim Lavamancer, and like a Vendilion Click or something like that. So I was able to go turn 1 Delver, turn 2 Delver, and then I actually drew the 4th Delver and played that on turn 3. Problem is, I didn't flip them until I had to chump block, so I lost.
Yeah, that's real rough.
It was very frustrating.
Never been more punished by Delvers ever.
It was very frustrating, and probably the most tilted I've been in a long time. I had to go outside and get some fresh air after that one because it was very frustrating. Because basically, if they flip at any point, I mean, Green White Hate Bears has Path to Exile, and that's basically it. So I mean, if I flip them in any reasonable time, then I can just race as 2/2s, but didn't. So
She was bad to you this weekend.
yeah. Anyway, so that that effectively knocked me out of contention for top 8. And then the next round, I got a camera match. So after I was tilted off of losing that, then I got a camera match and got destroyed by Blue Moon on camera. So, yeah, it wasn't great. I bounced back and beat Affinity in the last round, but it was a frustrating day. But yeah, as we mentioned earlier, Blue Red Delver not very good in a field full of Eldrazi, and probably not a great deck to play going forward. So don't think I'll be playing that one, at least for a little while. We'll see what happens with the format, but going to have to shelf that one for now. So I'm a little bit of a modern orphan now. Like I don't really have a deck to play at this point. So.
Blue Moon.
Yeah, I could play Blue Moon, but it just doesn't do
alone.
anything. I want to be attacking. That's why I kind of like that Zoo deck. It's pretty sweet. I don't have any of the cards for the Eldrazi deck, so I don't think I'll be playing that unless I can borrow it.
I got the hookup.
Yeah,
You'll be playing that deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I actually don't even have like the Mutavault and stuff. I want to play that full version. So.
Oh,
No.
I got those.
Anyway,
So I did play the Eldrazi deck. I know I talked about playing Gifts, and I was actually testing that most of last week, and it was testing fine. And then I came across an IQ list for Black White, which I really enjoyed. It had like a 1 of Sorin in it. It was back up to like 4 Lingering Souls. Like, man, like I like this. Casting Blightherder for full value and following it up with Sorin. Oh man, let me tell you. It's real sweet. So I was like, I'm just going to play this. And I'm glad I did. The deck was really fun, really powerful, and actually it was really well positioned for the room. The one thing I will say, though, is normally the way I like to get a lot of games in and test something, but I really hadn't actually played this deck at all. I played test matches against Jordan a bunch, and it's literally just jamming against Tron over and over again. You're playing games for 4 turns, and then you're done. And I did discover throughout the day, and I don't know if the colorless version maybe is a little bit easier to sequence. I don't know. The version I played was rather difficult to pilot, and I having not done it enough, I know that like I did okay, but like the two matches I lost on the day were both on camera. So if you go to Comic Town's page on YouTube, you can see that, and you can watch me play very questionably against Jund and walk into a damnation that I even thought about when I was casting the Blight Herder. I was just like, all right, I have a full Lingering Souls here. I just want to put pressure down. Then I'm like, what if he has damnation? I'm like, maybe it's a one of, I don't know, and just got totally destroyed.
It's just like that gif of Grandpa Simpson walking into the burlesque and then walking immediately out, just like, oh, goodbye. Take my hat.
And it was, I got to play some really fun matches. I beat up on Merfolk, where all those dust eggs had destroyed 4 lords. I was like, Lord. Like, gone. I got to play against a Jeskai control opponent who cast 2 Blood Moons against me in game 2. And I just kept making land drops and staring at the Ulamog in my hand, and then like casting Ulamog and exile both Blood Moons.
Yeah, just like soon.
That was really sweet.
Ulamog is a good magic card. I like casting in standard.
Yeah, I got to play a couple of Eldrazi mirrors. I played against a mono black version that was a little bit bigger than me, because I cut Oblivion Sowers entirely and was really close to the creature package. Like, I didn't have the mimics because I was playing like Lingering Souls, a little more mid rangey, but got very close to the core of the especially Thought Not Seer into Oblivion or into a Reality Smasher. This is pretty much the thing you want to be doing in these Eldrazi decks
most of the time. Yeah.
And like, he played against a little bit bigger version, but like Ulamog was still great no matter what. I do say I really enjoyed having that as an out, but obviously I do know that my list is a little bit slower. And then the last round, so I was 7-1 going into 9 rounds, and this is where the numbers were awkward. There were 11 people with 21 points. So I thought I for sure could draw, and I could not and had to play. And I think I played really, really poorly on camera, especially game 1. I made a really bad decision on a relic when I didn't need to. Game 2 was really sweet, where he played Night of Souls Betrayal against me, which was like a really popular card at our regionals. Like, it was everywhere. I know, Dave, you had some really...
Yeah, it's pretty good against Blue Red Delver, where it actually kills every single creature in my deck.
Well, it's good against Lingering Souls too.
Yeah.
But I had boarded with that, because I knew he had it. I knew a couple people had it. And like, I got to kill like a Thought Not Seer with a Wasteland Strangler, which like that was really cool. But set up like where I ultimated my Sorin against him, and we ended up at a stalemate for a few turns. But I was at a low life total, and he just like ripped the Reality Smasher off the top. So that game I thought was really fun. But I knew like playing a couple of those games, instead a couple of the games I played against Eric Rose, who also top aided him playing Jund. Where I really wish if I had had more time with the deck, I think I would have played a little bit better. So I'm excited to maybe get to play the deck again in some form. I do like, people are going to be attacking the aggressive version. I don't mind being a little more mid-rangey about it and maybe a little less all-in, so you don't get as punished as hard by some of the people who are going to try to punish it really, really hard. But yeah, when it did stupid things, it did really, really stupid things. So I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing the format, playing that deck, and something that I don't think is really at least traditional. Like, I play mid-range decks, but like that, the way that deck sort of set up is not something that's normally in my wheelhouse. A lot of discard effects and weird mana interactions.
Yeah, I think you were even like hesitant to play it.
I
You were kind of like, yeah, I'm playing this deck. Yeah, like
I really
you had to like convince yourself to play it.
I was not fully comfortable with it, and like I don't know what that says. Like, I wasn't fully comfortable with it and went 7-2 and beat a ton of different archetypes. And there were a few that I played against a mono red goblins deck, which is probably not, like Dave, you've played against it once before. It has some powerful cards in it. Don't get me wrong. Like,
we don't want to talk about mono red goblin storm.
I mean, but inherently things like Goblin Grenade and Goblin Pile Driver are really powerful cards. So, but I wouldn't call that like a deck. But I beat a lot of flavors of Jeskai. Beat an Abzan Cord deck. Or Company Accord, whatever. Beat Merfolk, beat Infect, which is it was a harrowing match, but got there. So I had a lot of fun with it. I'd like to be able to. It upsets me that so many people are calling for banning of the deck so quickly. When I'm like, I just want to play around with this version and see where it can go. There's so many versions of this deck now. I want to have time to play around with it, but so many people are just knee jerking, no. Don't take my toys away yet. Just give me a little bit. I just bought them.
Well, this is kind of like the culture that they've built with Modern. It's just you should expect these things to get banned if it's too good. It's now it's way overreaction. It's just like as soon as you see a deck do well, we got to ban that. We got to ban that now.
And it's
all right, guys, come on.
There's so much room. Like, just again, we've already talked about the top 8 for the Pro Tour, but look at some of the cards that are seeing play in Modern and recognize that. You can say, oh well, the man is really disgusting. It's like it is, but like look what's seeing play because of it. Like experiment with it first before you just decide that like, well, and I get it. You're just going to say it's too expensive, but honestly, if you look at that deck outside of the lands, it actually isn't that expensive, and all the cards are in Standard. Like you just have to have. I have Ugins. Eldrazi temples still cost less than half the shocks do. What they're like $8.
Yeah,
right?
somewhere around that.
You know what I mean?
8
So
to 10.
You don't have to buy fetches for most of them. You just have to buy eyes, which are cheaper than the Zendikar fetches right now. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's also like it's also hard to tell people to potentially invest in something that may or may not be viable.
I do get that. I don't know. Hey, I've heard people talking about it in Legacy. Could actually play it with Real Ancient Tomb as well and City of Traders.
Yeah, sure.
Just all of them.
Yeah. I'd be really interested to see if that pops up, and I think it could. I mean, we'll see. I don't know.
Chalice, much better guaranteed in Legacy at all times.
That's very true. Yeah, I mean, in modern is such a weird space. It's weird because like, so you want it to be like Legacy, where it's just like, well, I'm going to play this deck, and I'm just going to play this deck, I'm going to own it, and it'll be fine. But then you still run into things like when you run into a Standard, where it's like, oh, well, actually, your deck just isn't playable right now, and you should actually just be playing the best deck. But unlike Standard, you can't just always switch to the best deck at the time, right? The cost difference between two decks is sometimes too vast. So it's a bit awkward. It's hard, and I understand how people can be upset when we're in this weird spot where it's like Eldrazi, from all the information that we've gathered, just seems like the quintessential best deck, quote unquote. And I don't think you have that in Legacy. You don't have the quintessential best deck. You have a bunch of decks that are tier 1 and like go back and forth between week to week theoretically. But you don't necessarily you have this harsh rise and fall with a lot of decks in Modern, I feel. So I think that's why people get kind of disinterested in it and get kind of like turned off by it, because they want to just invest in the deck and that be what they play and master. And you don't necessarily always have that unless you invest in something that is quote unquote safe. But what really is?
Obviously, we'll see how the format responds to this. I still think Modern has been and continues to be a format that does reward people for playing a deck that they know well. And if you look at a lot of the players just outside of the top 8 of the Pro Tour, you see a diversity of decks represented and players who are notoriously good pilots of those decks doing well. And literally, like, if you have 2 losses in Constructed, then the reason you didn't top 8 is because of Limited.
Yeah,
like that's literally true. It. So I think just everyone needs to take a breath.
Yeah, okay, I mean, I fully believe that Wizards isn't going to take any action right now. We still have GP Detroit
on vacation for 3 weeks.
Yeah, they still have GP Detroit to kind of see how that shakes out, and then I'm sure if something needs to happen, it'll happen in April.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that the next set is going to be out in 2 months.
Yeah,
like I just noticed that because I was looking at the GP schedule earlier, and I was just like, oh, Pro Tour Shadows is in April. Oh,
yeah,
that's gonna come up pretty quick. So
yeah, for sure.
I mean, we'll see what happens, and they could definitely take action if they feel like it's needed. But
for the most part, we actually don't really know what's going to. Maybe Wizards somehow foresaw this, and they put something in Shadows that'll help. You never know.
Yeah, my fear with this is that, and we've kind of talked about this before about how it almost feels like they kind of hold off on banning cards until right before Pro Tour, and they kind of felt that way with Bloom a little bit, where like that deck was just obviously degenerate, and they just let it go for a while. And the fear is that this Eldrazi deck just continues to maybe not completely dominate, but really have a stranglehold on Modern, and it's like, well, we're not going to do anything until next year. Right before
I would hope they would have the wherewithal that if it was doing that. And I will say the one flip side of that argument is, Bloom did degenerate things, did not put up numbers like this Eldrazi deck.
No,
yeah.
Not
so
close, no.
I think it top 8 of 1 Pro Tour, I think is what the number was. So, obviously that's one a year, so take that for what you will. But So I think that's maybe a downside for like maybe something will get banned, but I don't know. I'm going to preach patience.
Yeah, and I think like that's obviously is what is going to happen. Nothing's going to get banned until at the soonest April. I don't think there's going to be any emergency bannings because of this. Because first of all, Modern is just not that played. It's not like this is broken standard cards. Well, I mean the cards are legal in standard, but it's not like it's a broken standard format. I should say it is something that they can let happen for 2 or 3 months and then see where everything lands in April. And if we see like GP Detroit is another 6 Eldrazi decks and then a couple other archetypes, then maybe at that point in time Wizards considers doing something. But
yeah, I mean that weekend we have not only Detroit, but there's 2 other GPs as
it's going to be a good time to see where the actual Modern format has landed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of good. Like typically they do have. Like you would see a GP the week after the Pro Tour that also was probably the format of the Pro Tour, the constructed format of the Pro Tour, or potentially limited. But we really don't have that. So Wizards is actually giving people time to kind of breathe and process information and like try to work on something based on the Pro Tour information. So it will be interesting to see how this all shakes out. But be prepared for whatever that could be. We could see things going really, really one way or another. So if something gets banned, you've been warned. Act accordingly. Anyway, well, that's pretty much everything for regionals and Modern in general. I think that is pretty much everything for constructed competitive formats. Is there anything else anyone wants to add here? All right, sweet. Let's move on to the wrap up. So there's no opens this weekend. There's no GPs this weekend. Everyone got cleared out so that you could go to your game days without having to feel bad or guilty about missing anything. I'm sure there's probably some PBTQs around, so definitely look at Scry.land, a great resource if you're looking for PBTQs.
Wheeling, West Virginia, and somewhere just
not
south.
Here, not locally.
I'm just saying, like, if you want to go somewhere, you got to drive for a while.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, go do something for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's also this weekend, so if
Deadpool.
you have a significant other, please spend time with them. Let them know how much you appreciate them and everything that they do. It's very important for a healthy relationship. That's some love advice. Some Dr. Drew advice right there.
Some wise words from Morgan.
So yeah, I will probably go into game day on Saturday and trying to figure out what I want to play in Standard because I don't want to play. I don't want to buy new cards for Standard because I just don't want to. So I think I might play blue green ramp and see how that goes. Probably poorly, but I don't care.
Yeah, awkwardly, I have to really actually start working on Standard.
Yeah, you got an RPTQ.
So I don't know what I'm going to do. I do kind of want one of those Jorians, though, so I might make an appearance this weekend as well.
Good. So just so you guys know, Comic Town's going to be running a last chance qualifier for the RPTQ. It is going to be on February 27th at 10 a.m. And then they'll also be running a PTQ that leads into PT Sydney on the same day at 2 p.m., which is probably going to be round 3 of the LCQ. And then we also want to note that Comic Town's going to be hosting the RPTQ that's going to be on the 28th, and that is for PT Madrid. And it's going to start at 10 a.m., so it's pretty awesome. Lots of stuff for next week. Yeah, right? Next week, 2 weeks later. Last week, February.
Weeks, yeah.
Last week, February. I just got the Mardu deck in the Pro Tour Gauntlet.
Oh, you messed up.
Yeah.
You messed up.
The 16th seed, if you will, out of the 16 decks.
Well, congrats on your round 1 loss, Dave. I'm very sorry.
No,
I hope it was worth the 60 points that you invested in that.
This thing
you might be able to beat Burn.
It has Lightning Helix and a Johnny Vengeance.
Congratulations, you could beat Burn. I'm very proud of you. Anyway. But that's it for this week of At Your End Step. If you want, please, follow us on Twitter. We are at @YourEndStep, or at Your End Step is how you would really say it. Also, you can check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/@YourEndStep. We also have an email address, @YourEndStep@gmail.com. We definitely want to hear any of your feedback. So if you have any thing you want to do, please leave us a review on iTunes as well. We would certainly appreciate hearing what you like, what you don't like about the show, and any feedback is good feedback, and we will definitely take your changes to heart if any need to be made. But that is pretty much everything for this week. We'll catch you next time, and you have a great one. Bye.